BXB. It's in the game!
So it's time for another early access preview, and at first glance I think you'd be forgiven for thinking this is a fairly generic action RPG thing. It's obviously a Diablo or Torchlight clone, and so why not just add it to a mental pile of Me Too games to ignore, right? And I might as well be honest, that is absolutely what I did when I first looked at the trailer for this on Steam. I mean, all the tropes are here, right? You're smashing barrels, you're smashing skeletons, there's these health and mana spheres at the bottom of the screen. It's just another one, innit? But very quickly after I started to actually play it, I found myself finding this game a lot more interesting than I expected. For a start, there's the look. This game has a sort of papercrafty theme going on. I can't pretend to fully understand it, and I'm really not sure how I feel about the game being set in a location the developers insist is called
The Archive of Awesome.
But still, the visuals are a bit more interesting once you get past the standard Diablo screen layout. There's the feel of a game that doesn't want to waste your time with a lot of messing around. This town screen definitely shows this. There's no wandering around here to find the blacksmith. You just click on dudes and you quickly get stuff done and you're back to adventuring. I like that. I like that a lot. And in the dungeon, this streamlining continues with a slightly quirky but pretty smart set of gameplay decisions. Everything happens at a distance in this game, with you able to attack anything inside your light radius just by clicking on it with your mouse. You don't need to walk up to it to attack it. In fact, going toe to toe with enemies is a really bad idea, as you don't actually have a lot of health and enemies do tend to hit quite hard. This makes the gameplay far more about picking stuff off from distance before it reaches you, and that gives the game a very different feel to the usual action RPG. There's also a strange whiff of cookie clicker in the air around this game. You can attack enemies basically as fast as you can click, so killing a tanky boss monster is as much about track and field style button hammering as it is about your levels or your stats. Some of the enemies have these shield icons on them that prevent damage until you smash it away by clicking on it a few times first. If you click nearby but not on an enemy, your attack misses. This is weird, and I worry that describing it might make it sound kind of dumb, but honestly, it's not dumb. It's actually way more fun than it sounds, and it makes large fights into a sort of pleasing blend of a plate spinning mechanic along with these mouse button athletics. It's surprisingly fun. So do I recommend jumping on board the early access train to weird hybrid RPG town? Dunno. I'm really close to saying yes. But there is one rather large problem with the game right now, and as is often the case, it's a nightmare to explain verbally, but something that you will notice the minute you start playing this game. So I need you to just bear with me while I try and explain in more detail, because honestly right now it is an absolute deal breaker for me. Your character is constrained to a path around the dungeon floor that you can see here, and that's fine. In fact, I think it's probably a smart decision. I mean, this is a game about interacting with stuff at distance after all, so there's just no need to have you scurrying off into every darkened corner. This path is just another good streamlining mechanism. However, one of the consequences of this movement system is that in combat, if the enemy you're clicking on moves and now you're clicking on the dungeon floor, you're telling your adventurer to walk towards that point. And that point is probably right next to a pissed off skeleton with a big sword. Now, cancelling this movement instruction is a bit of a pain, and even when you do it, you've still taken a step towards your enemies that you didn't want to take. So very quickly you figure out that the way to do combat is to hold down the left shift key, which fixes your position and prevents you from moving, and then you can click around to your heart's content and these misclicks won't be a problem. So problem solved, right? Just use the keyboard controls to move your character and use the shift key to fix him in place during combat. It plays out kind of like a twin stick shooter. I mean, you've got the WASD keys to control your position and all that, except that the WASD keys are properly broken. Check out this footage. This is me trying to navigate a simple crossroads. Now, you've probably noticed already that I don't seem to be able to move towards the lower left portion of the screen. What you're not seeing from the footage is that the behaviour of all of the keys I'm using to move are totally inconsistent. Sometimes the A key is taking me towards the upper left, sometimes the A key is taking me towards the upper right. Ditto the W key, and the D key is no better either. None of them are consistent in how they will move me at this crossroads, and this is a huge problem. Bear in mind that what you're seeing here is me doing this in a safe location without enemies around. When you have to deal with this problem, you will likely be under attack, probably from ranged enemies who will be peppering you with bullets while you mill around this crossroads like a lost dog. This is not acceptable and must be fixed, because right now it renders what would otherwise be a wonderful game virtually unplayable. Probably the most telling thing I can say about the control issues in this game is having to make room in this script to talk about them meant I had to cut talking about 3 or 4 other features in the game that I really enjoy. That sort of says it all really, doesn't it? It's just not something I can recommend right now because those control issues, they're too severe and they really hurt the playability of the game. But it's an early access game, hope springs eternal, maybe they'll fix it, and if they do, this is definitely one to watch.
BXB. It's in the game.